Hello and welcome to Good or Bad. So there's a poo demon in this film. A demon made of actual excrement. And before I go on any further, the way this demon gets defeated is just the best. With a bad odour spray. That is just excellent. So yes, this is Dogma, the 1999 comedy directed by Kevin Smith, which stars Ben Affleck and Matt Damon as two fallen angels, called Bartleby and Loki, who have but one mission: to get back into heaven. You see, ever since God cast them down because they didn't carry out orders, they have been condemned to a fate worse than death.
Were they sent to hell?
Worse. Wisconsin.
That is a great scene, by the way, which I will get to in a moment. But yes, Bartleby and Loki have been stranded on Earth for a very long time, until out of the blue they get sent a newspaper article, which leads them to figure out a loophole to get back into heaven. Which all sounds dandy to them. But little do they know, by entering heaven they will cause all of creation to cease existing. Because God declared they would never step foot or feather in heaven again. Because the movie goes on to explain that if anyone ever proves God wrong about something, that breaks all of existence, which personally I think screams vanity issues, but what can you do, it's God. And the person who put our two feathered friends onto this path was none other than a demon, Azrael, who is played by Jason Lee. And you know, Adam Sandler was apparently in the running to play Azrael, and yeah, I'm not really the biggest fan of Adam Sandler. Although to be fair, I did like Happy Gilmore and Grown Ups, but most of his other films I just find cringy. But yeah, back to Dogma. Azrael wants them to go back into heaven and blow creation up because it would be a whopping great FU to God. Which to him is worth wiping himself out as well. Oh, and you see these three guys? They are his minions. And they spend the movie silently and menacingly going around killing people with hockey sticks. So they're not very nice people. And in the grand scheme of the story, they don't really matter. They are just lackeys, but I still find them funny. I think it's the faces they pull. I mean, just look at that guy. It's pure cheese. Cheddary, cheesy cheddar. With some Stilton on the side. Then we have the other side. Heaven itself, working to stop them from entering heaven because they don't want all of creation to go bye-bye. Which brings us to our Save the Universe squad. But firstly, I just want to talk about that thing that I said I would talk about. Alan Rickman playing Metatron. He is just brilliant. This scene where he bestows the Holy Crusade upon Bethany is one of my favourite scenes in the whole film. It is one of those times where the writing, the directing, the acting and the effects were all on point. And by the way, the effects in this film in general are suitably ludicrous, which just fits the tone perfectly. Now, this whole scene is really good, but the cherry on the top was Alan Rickman explaining that angels have no dicks.
Don't kill or rape me.
Oh, give over, will you? I couldn't rape you if I wanted to. Angels are ill-equipped. I'm as anatomically impaired as a kendo.
I actually cannot praise that enough. But yes, the Holy Crusade. She is the one charged with stopping Bartleby and Loki from entering heaven. And I'm not going to go into the specifics of why what they have to do to enter heaven works. If you want those details, go watch the film, which to be fair I would recommend you do anyway. But essentially what they have to do is become human by cutting off their wings, then walk into this new church in New Jersey, and that will wash away their sins. Then upon their mortal deaths, they will ascend to the pearly gates. So her job is to stop that from happening, and she has help. In the form of prophets, Jay and Silent Bob, who wasn't aware they were prophets, so that was a bit of a shock for them. They are played by Jason Mewes and Kevin Smith. And as well as that, she is accompanied by a dead guy who's back from, well, the dead. For a bit. Chris Rock plays Rufus, who was supposedly the 13th Apostle from back when well, Jesus was around and there were other apostles. So yeah, he's back from the dead. Although apparently he's not fully back from the dead, so he's still dead, but he's walking around, so he's like, well, he's undead, I suppose. Not quite undead to the point that he's a zombie. It's just, he's back, but he's not back, but he is. Yeah, that about sums it up. Oh, and for those of you that don't know what an apostle is, Google it. And last, but certainly not least, Serendipity, played by Salma Hayek, who is a muse. I can't say that normally. Muse. It's fun, it's an amusing word, is muse. Which in this film is an angelic being who is responsible for divine inspiration. And they have a quick joke about her being responsible for 19 of the top 20 movies of all time. But when she is asked about the other one, she describes the plot of Home Alone, and said that someone must have sold their soul to the devil to make that movie popular. Which I like, because in the movie Home Alone, towards the end, Kevin's mother is in an airport and she is losing it when trying to get home to her son. And she screams she would sell her soul to get home, which is a pretty neat reference. One of several references to John Hughes, the writer of Home Alone, whom Kevin Smith is a fan of. In fact, if you look at both of their styles, you can clearly see the inspiration gone into Kevin Smith's movies. John Hughes had a habit of creating stories that coexist with each other while also remaining independent of each other. And a large commonality with those movies are the fact that they take place at least partially in the fictional town of Shermer, Illinois. Then we jump to Kevin Smith, who creates a series of films that are independent of each other, but also coexist alongside each other, which explains the characters Jay and Silent Bob appearing in a lot of them. So it's fair to say that Hughes was a huge inspiration for Kevin Smith. I mean, what also helps bring me to that conclusion is that Kevin Smith admitted that was a huge inspiration, so yeah, that definitely helped me spot the connection. But also, going back to the fictional town of Shermer, that's actually what Jay and Silent Bob are looking for when they show up in Dogma. Only for Jay to become pissed off when he finds out that John Hughes made Shermer up. He then goes on to explain that he cannot stand John Hughes movies, but then nods to Silent Bob and says that he can't get enough of them. Which is clearly referencing the fact that Kevin Smith, who plays Silent Bob, is a fan of John Hughes. So I cannot help but love the homage this movie plays to John Hughes, who actually wrote the story for my favourite comedy, Planes, Trains and Automobiles, which isn't strictly relevant, but I just wanted to point out how much I like that film. And he didn't just write the movie, he directed it too, so no idea why I only said wrote. Bad, Michael, bad. But yeah, Planes, Trains and Automobiles is a really good film. So yeah, credit where credit is due. Well done! So, now that our Save the Universe squad is assembled, they set off on a quest of epic proportion to save the universe. Don't know why I had to explain what the quest was after calling them the Save the Universe squad. It was a bit self-explanatory, really. And the epic quest involves the aforementioned shit monster, Chris Rock being Chris Rock, and a nice scene on the train where our two opposing forces meet. Only at this point they don't know who each other is, so they get on like a house on fire. Maybe are instead of is, considering it's like a group of people, two groups of people that don't know. Well, I say a group of people. There's 4 or 5 of them, and there's 2 of the others, so a group of people and a couple of people that they meet on the train, so that would be is, no are. No one cares. No one actually cares. But then they realise who each other is, / are, and a fight breaks out. And then the 2 angels, one of them being a former angel of death and destruction that delivered untold carnage upon humanity, gets thrown off of the train by Silent Bob, and then breaks silence to quote an Indiana Jones film. So, definitely worth it.
no ticket.
Love an Indiana Jones quote. Before that scene, however, Bartleby and Loki decided to go and deliver some divine wrath and punish some wicked people. And this involves going to a boardroom meeting of some TV company and laying out all of their sins. Remember what I said in my Resident Evil review about corporations being evil?
Mr. Whitland, you have more skeletons in your closet than this assembled party. I cannot even mention them aloud. You're his father, you sick fuck.
Well, cheers Dogma for backing that up. And the only reason I'm bringing this section of the film up is that even though it actually bears no relevance to the outcome of the film, it is still a damn good scene, which brilliantly showcases Matt Damon and Ben Affleck's talent for comedy.
But I do believe in this.
Don't run! Don't run! Sphinx! Sphinx! All of you! Sphinx! Oh, and you!
I do believe in this. What does that mean?
So yeah, good scene. But never mind that now, because it's time for the ending of the movie, where forces converge. Azrael reveals his evil plan and gets a holy golf club to the chest. Have to admit, didn't see that coming. But before getting puttered to death, he revealed he had imprisoned God. Because God is the only one that can stop Bartleby and Loki from entering the gates of heaven, except Bethany, ancestor of Christ. Shit, did I not mention that yet? They claim that Jesus had siblings that no one has ever heard of, and she is related to one of them. Can I just say, the amount of flack this film must have got when it came out. Wow. Bethany works out how Azrael did it, and frees God. And by this point, Bartleby has gone crazy, to the point that even after realising that it would cause all of creation to be disintegrated, he still wants to go through those gates. Because he feels betrayed by God, because God has given humanity endless patience. But where was that endless patience when Bartleby and Loki stopped following God's destructive orders? To sum up, it ain't fair, so screw it, let's blow everything up. Loki, however, was not quite so self-destructive, and stood up to Bartleby, and got killed by him. So it is now up to God to step in, now that she has been freed. Yeah, she. God's a woman in this film. Those words are blasphemy! I cannot help but respect this movie for those risky decisions. But yeah, it's all over now. Loki and Bartleby are no more. Creation is safe, so that's nice. Although what's not nice is that Bethany died in the process. But it's okay because God just brings her back. And now she's got a bun in the oven as well. And then God kisses Jay, so all's well that ends well. So that was Dogma, and I have to say, I don't really have a single problem with it. I respect the risks this movie took. I love the homage paid to John Hughes, and the cast are clearly having a lot of fun with this. And so did I. If I were to come up with a criticism though, it would definitely be that Alan Rickman is not in it enough, because he was easily my favourite part of this film. And I suppose the design of Azrael's demon horns did look a bit cheesy, but then again that just fits the tone of the film, so that's not a criticism either. I suppose at a push I could say that the climax of the film wasn't as good as the rest of the film, but even then, it was still fun. Now, this film does include toilet humour, quite literally sometimes, but I find that there is more depth to this film than appearances would lead you to believe. I've mentioned certain things already, such as the homage to John Hughes, but I think something else this film does a really good job at is showing the journey that Bartleby and Loki go on. The film starts with Loki being the trigger-happy angel of death, but by the end, those roles are reversed, and the tipping point is that scene I mentioned, where Bartleby pours out his heart in front of Loki and says that he feels betrayed, and how dare God put humanity before them. And yeah, Loki does mention that he sounds a lot like Lucifer when saying that. But but it is a really good scene and shows their switch in characters. I can definitely say that this film got a fair few laughs out of me, and it kept me entertained from start to finish. So, on the good or bad scale, I'm gonna go with good. And with that said, I will see you next time. Feel free to do that likey and subscribey thing that I've been told I should ask people to do, so go ahead and do that. Bye.